How is it going? It's Malagant. Today we will be talking about my impressions on what Diablo 4 is trying to do different compared to other ARPGs, even though I will give some of my opinions here and there about whether these changes could be good or not. Ultimately, I believe that we will need to wait and see how it plays out.
Blessed are you who will die in the Mother's name.
Give the stranger the holiest of welcomes.
So, some bread and butter could be said at least. The RPG interface options are missing here. Map overlay is one of them. Tab to bring an entire overlay map of the zone that you're in. Overlay is incredibly crucial in ARPGs. It lets you route on the go without a break, right? You will continue moving as you're like just staring at the overlay perhaps and routing from there. And it lets you read the layouts sometimes when you're a little bit advanced in the game. Depending on the ARPG, it can also mean that like it's going to be, if read correctly at least, such as like selecting which content to do, what treasure to expect towards the end, where it is going to be, right? Where the exit is, where the shrines could be. This is pretty much like hard to comment for Diablo 4 though, since we haven't necessarily seen too much when it comes to the randomized layouts in the beta. There is, however, a minimap in the game that you cannot resize or you cannot move it around either. It is just there to help you out to navigate in a very short vicinity. Blizzard's point of view in this is that like they want to slow down the player, they want much less to be read from an overlay compared to looking at the actual environment, so they want the player to look at the environment instead of a map. So immersiveness over the efficiency, slow content consumption over the fast. For people that are jumping into Diablo 4 with a good new game experience expectation, I believe this will be a massive positive impact. For people that want this to compete and do what Path of Exile is doing, perhaps at a better state, this is most probably doing exactly the opposite of that. Mouse overing items is also another thing that are on the floor. Seeing the affixes is not going to be possible in Diablo 4. You will need to pick them up and then observe them in your bags. You will need to loot these items to see the complete versions and decide if they were worth anything to begin with. I personally dislike this and I don't really see much of a reason here to be this way. Perhaps, maybe just for fluidness, I'm not really sure. So more FPS when the things are not loaded, I don't know. Right off the bat with these two examples, you can see that Blizzard again is not necessarily unafraid. Is it? Maybe I should say is approaching with an unafraid to change kind of an approach, right? With Diablo franchise's new chapter. From Diablo 2 to 3, Blizzard was not afraid to make big changes. Always online was one of the things, plug and play oriented gameplay was another one. You were able to queue with randoms into a selective type of content, whether you like it or not. There were so many changes with lores, its art style, it's just game style, itemization was very, very different too from Diablo 2 to Diablo 3. Character and enemy power creep, scaling, right? Endgame was done much more differently also. Also, you got to remember, Diablo 3 launched with multiple difficulties, Inferno being the last one, with a completely different itemization than how it is right now at this moment, with an in-game real money auction house. Let me repeat that. It had an in-game real money auction house that you were able to find items and then auction them and gain real life money out of your find. Actually, I myself did auction quite a few, dozens of items in fact, and made quite a few bucks. Now it is completely different and is supporting a seasonal gameplay for a very long time, so it has came a long way and have changed drastically. I would like to open a parenthesis here and then point out that I'm like 100% sure that in the light of these things, over time, Diablo 4 will go through a lot of changes as well. And everything that it has to offer can either come to an end or drastically be changed, whether, you know, the developers or the community wants. Now I'd like to argue Diablo 4 is even more courageous when it comes to the shift it is bringing to its franchise. It is coming with an immersive exploration path. It has an open world, it is an open MMO, not just city hubs, yeah? It is open MMO at all times, except the dungeons. You will always be able to see random players doing their thing in Sanctuary. And more importantly, you will sometimes need other players. Timed events, bosses, world bosses. We have seen a lot of this done right in Lost Ark recently. Well, I'm saying recently because I'm Western. There will be group content. Plug and play is here again, but it is this time taken to the next level, probably to the limit actually, as you will be able to say hi to a random player passing by you while you're doing whatever. Also, Battle.net is now capable of supporting the entire world in one mega server. This was not the case for Diablo 3. Diablo 3 players were only capable of playing within their region. On top of all of that, platforms are united in Sanctuary, so Xbox, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and of course PC. There'll be an in-game voice chat for this game. For me, this is probably one of those things that won't be used at all, but it's a good option to have since the game is capable of cross-platforming, definitely. Not everybody will be able to, hop in Discord if they would like to. Seasonal gameplay is delayed, and even though most of the time an end game can be considered the most important part of an ARPG, like this one, ARPGs require the base game to be very solid. You have to have a good foundation, and then putting seasonal content on top of that seals the deal, in my opinion. Also, nowadays players are looking forward to skipping the content and rushing to the end where it is, not enough content remaining anymore, especially at the beginning of a game, and then complain, obviously. Season 1 being delayed at the launch sort of schedules the player's mind to consume what content is available in Diablo 4's launch. So because of this, I would actually suggest you to take your time with Diablo 4 at the beginning and explore Sanctuary's map and its story perhaps at your own speed instead of following guides and rushing to the best items as soon as possible. Account progression is an important part of Diablo 4. Because of this, as I mentioned in my Cold Sorcerer starting character video, I think it's important to select the right character to begin the game with. Right one is in the one that you would actually like to main in the long run. Account progression, as far as I know so far, is granting you skill points for every single character that you're going to be opening, including the one that you're playing at that point. Paragon points, collectibles, vanity items, in-game gold, and of course challenge points. I think challenge points is the achievement system of Diablo 4. There will be an in-game shop in Diablo 4, so the game is buy to play, right, and quite pricey too, in fact. There's an in-game shop on top of that, right, and I'm sure it will be selling a variety of different things. And then there's also going to be a progressive battle pass that you will need to purchase at the very least one time. I think they're kind of trying to make it like how Fortnite is doing. If you're unaware, you can buy it the first time with real life money, right? With real money, and then afterwards, if you progressed enough with the battle pass, it generates these in-game points, and with those points you can actually purchase the next one with those points. So just by playing your first battle pass, will be able to purchase the next one all the time. So it kind of like gives you a reason to progress the battle pass that you own because you would like to buy the next one for free at all times. I think that's what they will be doing, but as I said, I'm not necessarily well informed on this one. At least I'm really hoping it will be that way. So the game performance. Blizzard's quality is here once again when it comes to how the game runs. This game is not only beautiful but also runs really, really good. I'm obviously talking about only my PC here, which is a decent one, but I'm really, really hoping that this is going to be the case at the very least when it comes to frame rates, and more importantly, not only good enough frame rates but also a stable one for the low-end PCs as well. The visual clarity is very well done in this game, especially the spells, attacks, when the attack is coming, when to run away from it, etc. You can easily see what projectile is flying your way, what to avoid, what type of monster you're fighting with, including their mods. And the game is very, very well telegraphed, especially the bosses I have fought so far. Please do better about this, Path of Exile, I love you. Interface simplicity is another thing that is being, drastically changed in Diablo 4. Very, very easy to understand interface overall. Just by jumping in I'm assuming that even, you know, the newest player to this genre will be able to understand what is going on their screen. This is very impressive in my opinion. Very simplistic. Some people even found it too much and criticized it for being somewhat like a mobile game interface. I can actually see that, especially the character information and the character tab. I think the action bar and the spell animations and the art is absolutely gorgeous, however. This is probably the first time that I'm finding an ARPG controller friendly. I cannot believe I'm going to be saying this, but I might actually buy this game on PlayStation as well, just to be able to play in the living room every now and then too. This also brings another new capability that Diablo 4 brings, which is actually insane in my opinion. Cross-platform shared progression is available as long as you link your accounts together. So you can share your PSN, Xbox and Battle.net accounts on PC and play the same character on all of them. So these were some of the things that I came up with just by playing the beta 3 times of Diablo 4. I have only witnessed a very limited amount of section of Sanctuary and only leveled up to 25. Last time I played, the limit was actually level 20 even. I'm not necessarily invited to some sort of like a, you know, under NDA content at all. I'm just like you, I would imagine. So I was only into the betas that were available to public and to the people that were, you know, pre-purchased the game. So now my 2 cents. RPG games, they're very scared of changing their games. For better or worse actually. Their community is never welcoming any change, extremely critical about pretty much anything. And this puts a heavy burden on the developer, I would imagine. In my opinion, change is pretty good most of the time, I would say, so at least being scared of change is not good at all, because things are always revertible. And these can be adjusted in due time as well. To make the better game, this is how it is supposed to be. Personally, I do not need Diablo 4 to do what Path of Exile or Grim Dawn is doing. Okay, let me try to rephrase this. I do not need Diablo 4 to do what these other games are doing better, right? I don't need Diablo 4 to be better than them in those lanes. I would much rather play the sequels of those games instead, like Path of Exile 2, Grim Dawn 2, you know? Like, what I mean by this is that Path of Exile has its own style already, and I would like Path of Exile 2 to be my main game when I'm craving for that. The same thing can be said for the offline gameplay. So far, the best offline ARPG game that I have ever played is Grim Dawn. I want Grim Dawn 2 to be that again. You know what I mean? So I am really digging what Blizzard's approach here when it comes to justice. I really find it commendable for Blizzard to come out with this title and be like, look, nah, Diablo 4 doesn't need to be just an ARPG. In the meantime, a fan that is still stuck at the Diablo 3 lounge, you know, yelling at them, please give me my offline mode. And then Blizzard just says, what are you even talking about, my man? Diablo 4 is actually an MMO. This time it will have content that requires other players to play with. You see what I mean here? Let me know if you have anything that you would like to add to all of this. What are the things that you like about Blizzard's direction here, especially the stuff that you like with Diablo 4 and this launch, which is less than a week away now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.